So let's jump into Subscription Notifier. In a nutshell, Subscription Notifier enables organizations to build out business rule-based content tracking and extends upon the notification expiration features of Oracle Web Center content. These rules are easy to build using a friendly API or UI, just like we saw in the Advanced User Security Mapping. And a part of these rules include sending email notifications to users for review, updates, and when new revisions have been checked in or when content is set to expire. Subscription Notifier is much more than just a rule-based content notification system and engine. It also has the ability to invoke side effects. So we started with it under the notification model, but customer interaction over the course of the years has evolved this product to allow us to use this feature called side effects. An example of where side effects might be used would be the ability to send items into workflow, asking users to update content, archive it, or delete it. So when you hit the subscription notification, you might get a notification that says, yes, you're about to expire, but you also want to move into the next step and move that into workflow. Some of the problems that we tend to attack from a subscription notifier perspective are around, a lot of ones we hear are around gen www, getting stuck, or items getting stuck in done during the conversion process. So this leads to help desk and admin calls and frustrated users. And so we can get notifications and engage these items through the conversion process. We've also heard and seen statistics at how fast content is growing in organizations. So as you are merging terabytes and terabytes of content throughout your organization, but the key issue in managing that content is ensuring that the most relevant information gets shared. You might be using a repository for thousands and millions of items, but every day there's new relevancy to those individuals who are managing that content and looking for the key things they need to do their job. If we look at an example of content on a website, it could be an intranet, it could be an internet site. Companies continue to be challenged with knowing what content needs to be updated and by whom. Not knowing this, the process of updating this outdated content does not get done, leading to poor site performance and adoption. And you just end up with a bunch of link farms and content that isn't relevant to my day-to-day activities. We see that companies are also struggling to provide key stakeholders with timely content that they need to do their jobs. And a lot of times the content that gets created in your organization is done so in somewhat of a vacuum, where departments are not well connected and multiple locations across your organization make it difficult to know what high-end value content there is that's being created. And we all have a million things going on, lots of things going on. I am guilty of that as well. And so without knowing that a piece of content or collateral exists or perhaps unable to find it, you'll see multiple people creating the same asset or referencing an out-of-date version. So you'll get many duplications throughout the process, and the wasted time is even difficult to comprehend. Other challenges we see people facing are not including having enough forewarning or the inability to easily track when content is close to expiring, even if you are using the expiration feature, or needs to be updated at this time. Furthermore, organizations aren't always sure who the content owners or reviewers are for an item, so they can't really systematically put a process around how to proceed with content updates and instead perform them in an ad hoc fashion, possibly causing inefficiencies and lost time and duplication again. Those are just some of the content problems we see that Subsnoti is solving over the course of the years it's been around. So Subnoti, as a tool, has three major features. There are sub-features within each of these. They basically focus on sending emails to users on a scheduled basis. So we have an email notification engine that ensures proactive updates to the Web Center content side of things, or even your portal, help optimize any type of SEO and engagement activities you have in your organization. So if your content server is externally facing with content, or it's driving engagement internally, those email notifications help drive some of those experiences. You can select from existing mail templates or create custom templates as part of that notification process. And you can drive them based on definitions for how the type of experience the notification needs to be for, be it a new document release, like new items were checked in, items are stuck, and gen are done, and maybe items are checked out longer than X amount of days. We use that quite a bit here for our processes, as items might be checked out for several days as we get busy with customers and we have to get background on that process. The second one is with periodic reviews. You can send emails to users on a scheduled basis for items approaching a review or expiration date, defined by a system date that's already out of the box or a date you add as part of your metadata model. Items appear in what's called a document under review queue, which is accessible via the drop-down menu options of the Content Server UI. And users can choose from the following options, whether you want to take no changes are necessary, check out and revise, and approve expiration. So it's a mini periodic review process as far as handling that content. And the third segments that we deal with are data updates and synchronization. So we call them side effects, so you can perform these actions on any content matching a specified query. Some of the standard actions we have are the update metadata. I can check out and check in. I can update an external database, and I can delete revisions. And I can even resubmit the conversion process after a certain number of tries where something might be stuck in gen dub dub dub. Queries can be performed against the Content Server database or any other external database provided you have configured in your environment. I will tell you this has been one of our most popular components over the years, and we've used it in a number of intranet site installations to help drive management of that content. So what's new in Subnoti? So we're sitting at 5.0 that was released in March 2017, and we basically simplified the subscriptions for end users. So non-administrators can now create their own subscriptions. So you can not only use some of the out-of-the-box subscription capability if you've exposed that and turned that on, but you can also drive some of these queries and get at content from a finance, a legal, even human resources department perspective. Users with restricted access can create subscriptions in a restricted view. So we have type-ahead user fields. These type-ahead suggestions are based on both username and full names. We have a job run history. You can resubmit for conversion side effect, which is the inbound refinery issue I talked about with gen.ww. So the side effect will allow you to resubmit content items to inbound refinery to attempt conversion again. 3 tries, 4 tries, 5 tries, whatever makes sense in your environment. And then after that, eventually send an email to somebody to take action as your environment might be having an issue. We enforce security on a per subscription basis. So previously this was a content configuration setting, so now that's been made available on a per subscription basis. And this one is also certified under 12C and 11G as well. So let's take a look at Subnoti Live. And we're going to cover basically the rules-based configuration, which is a similar model to advanced user security mapping. We'll show you the periodic review example. We'll do a metadata, I'll show you what a metadata update example looks like, and we'll show you what the job run history looks like. I'll flip over to Subscription Notifier, which is also accessible from the Fishbowl Administration Tools bar. And there are 2 options that you will see in there. One is the View Job History, which we'll get to in a moment, and the View Custom Component Subscriptions is where you manage your rules. So this is the new UI that we have for Subnoti. The ones that are bolded, or not bolded or kind of grayed out are the ones that are not enabled, so they are turned off. You can turn them on and turn them off with the Enable button. But there are several in here that will run under different schedules. Some on demand that I've set up for the demo, and some run every 5 minutes, or some run every week. So let's talk about one of the ones that popped up quite a bit from our customers. And we'll show you a little bit about the subscription notification interface with respect to the name, the subscription type, and the logging level, which gives a little more detail. You can define who you want the job to run as and who you want to be emailed in terms of notification as far as the process, and whether or not there's a schedule that you want to take place with this. This particular example, I am ignoring the schedule, and when I do that, the hint tells us that if you ignore the schedule, that this notification query will run approximately every 5 minutes in your environment. So a non-scheduled task will run every 5 minutes. You apply a query to the subscription query area here, and you can define whatever IDOC script you want in that query to generate back the results that you need to evaluate that process. This scenario will resubmit one of the side effects. It's called resubmit for conversion, and the attempts it will take is 5. Now I can do a preview on the email. I don't have any in my environment stuck at the moment, and I can save that subscription and return back to my UI. And I can repeat that same kind of configuration for items that might be stuck in done. So it's just a different type of query following a similar model of having the schedule turned off. One of the ones that pops up quite a bit as well is the contract or document kind of expiration or renewal. It uses the periodic review model. So of the subscription type I showed earlier with Gen, WW, and Done, I use normal, but on periodic review, that enables a different set of fields that make access to the subscription definition available to you. The first one is all the date fields that might be in your content server environment that you wish to evaluate a periodic review on. You can evaluate it on ones that are out of the box. In this case, we have a review date defined, which we are evaluating the process on. We are running this scheduled job on a daily basis on every Wednesday at 12 a.m. So you can run it on non-peak times so you don't get any degradation in your environment if you are concerned about that. You can define users to notify or aliases to notify under the periodic review definition you define. So you can make it, for example, there are several here. It's a 120-day, a 90-day, and a 30-day, a 90-day, a 30-day, a 7-day, and a 1-day, and so forth. So you can define whatever that model needs to be in terms of that notification. You can define the email template you wish to use as part of that process. And so whatever creative ones you have customized in your environment with the right text and or labeling or imagery you might want in that email. And you can also put text in your message to be appended to that as it goes out. My example here is doing a simple doc type like on anything with doc type as in the procedure of the title, or the type, excuse me. And I can add to that by simply picking more fields from the content server and defining my conditions and putting my text to add to the query. And I can build a query that would go after content in my environment based on that. I can preview the email that would come out. And so if there are any documents in your environment that match that query, it will return a sample list of the first 5 in that list that happen to meet that expiration configuration I have for the periodic review earlier. In there, you'll get the message text that I pulled from here, title of the document, when it expires, links inside the document to also perform the access to the documents quickly for users who might be managing their email box as a queuing mechanism for items that are expired. There is also a way that to define documents that you wish to either meet under periodic review or normal review that you wish to attach. So I can build a query and attach the content as opposed to putting a link in the content, and I can decide whether I want the web viewable document, the PDF converted item, or the native file in the attachment of the email that gets sent out. In that case, if I do the preview, I will see nothing that shows up in here as a link, but when the email gets sent to me, the document will be as an attachment to the email. The last one I'll show you is the metadata update side effect. Under the same scenarios of the schedule and the email template definition and the email message, I can look for and perform metadata updates on one or more metadata values that are in the content server based on those that meet the criteria. In this case, a simple doc title equals sample PPT. And I can do a preview on that, and it will find a document that it will update the values for these 2 fields to core process as a manufacturer, which is very handy for organizations who don't necessarily do lookups and database tables for managing their values for attaching content. They might hard code them in the admin applets in the configuration manager, but they change every so often, or content needs to move around, or something reorganizes in your environment. You have thousands of documents that need to be touched some way, somehow. You can either go through them by hand, you can archive them out, archive them back in, or you can run a small job with Subscription Notifier to make those updates. For the user who has restricted access to the environment and you want to grant certain roles access to perform Subscription Notifier, so I as a user can come in and create my own subscription notifications, and the one I created for the one with attachments is the same one that I can see as if I'm a power user or an administrator that I've defined here. So that same definition I see as the administrator, but the casual user who has been granted access can only see the ones that they own. What the job history looks like. After jobs run, we do collect the run history by the type of subscription that was performed, whether it was on demand, whether it was periodic review, whether it was ran every 5 minutes, whether it ran every hour. So this user interface allows you to create some filters for the ones that you want to see, either all of them or the ones that you ran that were run that were gen dub, for example, the date and time they ran, the duration, whether or not it's a success or failure, if it was scheduled, and then if any notifications that were sent. And you can page through those results and continue to find the asset you're looking for that you might have had a situation occur in, or you're trying to troubleshoot a problem in with respect to subnodes. Very handy to play around with the different types of filters as well, so you can look for key ones that you might have run, because you could end up with a lot of different entries in here, and you want to narrow down to focus on the ones that are key to your triaging options.